totally like humbling to have been asked to play what I consider to be like such huge events in our scene and in rock. We'd done tours before, and I knew that we share a lot of the same uh, musical influences and values, and fan base wise, I just knew to expect a warm and excited fan base. Yeah, I never wanted the band to end ever. It had to end. And then the most random kind of way that this kind of thing festered inside of me was I was sailing across the Titanic graveyard on a cruise ship that I won to go on, the QM2. And I felt so disconnected from like the planet, and the kind of impossible thing of getting my band back together suddenly out there just kind of felt totally possible and like magical. So when I got to New York, I kind of messaged the guys. I was like, "The band is back." That's how it happened. Yeah, I was just like, seriously, like I've heard songs like in my head, like, and I took my recording rig with me, so I'd able to send them the first kind of things that had come out straight away, and they were like, they were buzzing because we remained friends. There was no kind of fallout in our band or anything, so they were just like, "Yeah, let's make this happen." So yeah, it was really like an exciting thing that came out of nowhere on this random situation of me being on the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, it was crazy. So after the aforementioned cruise, I'd been speaking with Ray quite a bit actually, and I told him the band was getting back together, and I didn't know that they were going to do anything. And then, literally after I'd reformed the band, and we were just thinking, let's make some music and play some shows to the fans that like our band. I just got a message going, "Hey, do you want to do these stadium shows?" I was like, "Yes, I do want to do those shows." It's kind of, you know, a no-brainer really. And so we kind of based the whole returning as a band around announcing we were doing those shows. Now, obviously, what happened was the pandemic happened. So this is kind of like January 2020, I guess, when this all happened. So we knew we were doing these shows for ended up being 2 years, and we knew the band was back together. And we kind of kept it internal for that whole time and made a record during it. Playing the actual shows, for me, it just was totally like humbling to have been asked to play what I consider to be like such huge events in our scene and in rock. But also, it just felt like I was not nervous. It just felt like coming home for me. The audiences, we'd done tours before, and I knew that we share a lot of the same musical influences and values, and fan base wise, I just knew to expect a warm and excited fan base. And I also knew that like we would have on those shows 2 years, not only like the 8 years of kind of waiting, I think it's 8 years for Mike M, and like a minority in that audience for Lost Alone, but like the 2 years of the pandemic, it was for a lot of people the shows that it was going to be the first band they saw. And especially with our first show being the Eden Project, we were the first band for a lot of people anybody saw in that time. So I felt responsibility as well to like entertain and excite people for the what could be like the greatest night of their life, seeing like the band they've been waiting for a long time. So yeah, it was just absolutely insane experience, and I feel really grateful that that was the way we got to bring our band back. Yeah, it was like it was pretty instant that I knew the band was back when I heard one of the first songs called "The Last Drop of Forever." That was while I was on this cruise ship. But from then on, my mentality is just like I knew I was making a record. But in actual fact, it was such a weird way that it happened, because when it first happened, it was like, oh, maybe we can get one song out before these shows with Mike M. And then it was delayed a year, and it was like, okay, I'm going to make a record. And it was delayed 2 years. So it became like this weird thing of where it sat right here now. It was kind of like the most geographically diverse record we've ever made, but I never left this seat because I would write and demo sat right here. Mark, our drummer, is up in Derby. I'm in London. He's back in our hometown still. He'd do the drums there with me on headphones listening in. Our bass player's in Carlisle. And then it was mixed in LA by Greg Wells, who we'd worked with before, in Glasgow with Adam Noble, who we'd worked with before. Rou from Shikari mixed two of the tracks who I'd been writing with. So it was this weird thing where sat right here, I got to make this like big rock record, and like I'd never left this position. So it was, it was very different to the three Lost Alone records before, where we went away and made an album. This was like, I was stuck here, and it was like the only thing I could really focus on. So it helped me through the pandemic. I have asthma, so I was really locked down. Like I didn't leave this apartment for 6 months at one point at the start of lockdown. So yeah, it was my kind of salvation and my focus. And I just knew at the end of it, nobody else knew, but I knew I was going to play these songs in stadiums. So that was kind of like the real kind of goal, and the thing that got you through. Some of those weeks in lockdown where it didn't feel like it was going to end, and even though you maybe thought you were making a record, part of you was like you couldn't see an end. I had this real kind of thing where I was like, I'm going to play these songs in a stadium. So that was a real big help for us, I think. Yeah, so with Rou, myself and him, I think actually we did this mixing before we wrote together, but more recently we actually started like just doing like just little bits of writing for other people, not for our own projects. But we always had the same management as Shikari, and when we were doing the mixing, I like yourself had always been a big admirer of Rou as a writer, and it was mentioned to me that he was also doing mixing and stuff. And whereas I like to produce, and I've produced this record, I still think it's important to let somebody else's input come in on that final element. So yeah, it was a real organic thing where let Rou hear a couple of tracks, and he was like really buzzing about the songs and just did it. So it was really, again, that was in lockdown. It was me and him just like this, him sending mixes over and me being like, yeah, and then no, like, because I hear the LostAlone's vocals very specifically because I like musicals and there's a lot of ridiculous harmonies. But it was really, really easy, and he nailed the mixes. And it's actually the song that will come out before the album is the song that Rou mixed. So yeah, I'm dead excited for people to hear that. Yeah, well, we put out a couple of tracks before that, quite like more, I don't want to say low key, but we dropped a track directly before the Mike M shows, which was the first song I wrote. But Enjoying the Dream, the reason that's out now, for me personally, it definitely sums up the record. Like, I think it's nice to have a song. It's the opening track as well. It's nice to have a song on an album that encompasses little bits of everything that you're going to hear on the album. That makes sense. And I think like musically and lyrically, it does that. And then also for me, it's now taken on a real new kind of meaning for me because it's the song we opened the first shows back with. And what was so nice was the feedback we got about that track live. People seem to like, and now I can't help but it's very much associated with a real big event in both mine and the audiences who were at those shows' lives of like this song they heard first at these shows. So it's really like being able to like put like a diary mark of a song in like a point that was such a big moment for me personally to walk out on those stadium stages, and I hope for the audience and the feedback we've been getting so far, or I've felt, in that weird insular world of like the people that talk to me on social media, they're really feeling that that's a thing for them that marks a really nice point in their life. So for me, it not only encompasses the LostAlone's record, but it's a real nice little memory point of something that was really special to me. Yeah, I wrote. It's the first time LostAlone's ever had a title for the album that is a song title, and I wrote it. Sat right here, working on a song, and I was watching. It was January the 6th, 2020. I was watching the insurrection in America happen as I was writing the song, and it all kind of fed into it. And I think that across the lyrical themes of the album, a lot about kind of the warring in the mind and kind of what is kind of happening in the world. That song summed up the record the most. There's a line on it, the earth won't die, just the people. And I just think that's my kind of climate change thing and the warring, the thing in my mind. So it was the first time ever that a song screamed out to me to be the title. And yeah, I think it just really sums up. There's a lyric on Enjoying the Dream that says ambition's an affliction, every moment is a mission. And like that was the only other thing that could have been a title, because that sums up, I think, my life of how the Warring Twenties, the album, Enjoying the Dream, ambition's an affliction, every moment is a mission. I feel that like if you have something that burns so kind of much in you, that cliched line of living the dream isn't really living the dream, it's enduring it. Because I see friends and stuff I've known for years who do their lives and do enjoy it, whereas I feel like this is a 24/7 every day of the year thing that is really on my, it hurts my brain constantly because I can't not do it and I want to do it. And I think between that line and that song, it just summed up what I've tried to say on this record. And it's the most open I've ever been about how I feel about the band. For me, it's never been a let's do a band and try and do things. It's something I can't not do, and it really kind of sums up the fact I've managed to not reform my band but get my band back, because it was always there. And while I've been writing for a lot of other artists, the band's been kind of like knocking on my head, like. So I think that's quite a rambling answer to a question, but that's how I feel about it. Yeah, it's really exciting, actually. That's the thing I've been enjoying the most. Suddenly having 4 albums, and trying to make sure that I made the mistake of saying on Twitter or somewhere, what songs do you want to hear? And obviously you get these so many deep cuts and B-sides from the first EP we ever did. And I've had to kind of go, but I want to play the new songs. So it's really fun I think we're going to do a thing a little bit inspired by like the shows we just did, where every set will be different I want people to be happy. So we're definitely going to do, out of the 10 songs on the new album, there's going to be about 6 I definitely played. But from the rest of the songs, I think we'll be choosing from different albums and definitely dropping deep cuts. And I'm going to do a thing where during the set, especially for some of the fans I know are flying into the UK for these shows and they've requested certain songs, I'm going to make sure that if they're not in the set that night, I will play them like acoustically, which is a thing we've always liked to do, either during the set or like outside after. So I want to make it real. I want people who like our band to like get what they want out of these shows, as well as us getting to play these new songs. I think one that I'm definitely allowed to speak about, because they always say I can, and it's been one of my favourite projects I've ever been involved in, is what was supposed to be a day last May. I'm still there now, and I'm working on the new McFly record with the guys. So they're a band that I never really knew or listened to, or really were, wasn't, I listened to Queen 24/7. Really, so that's kind of what I listen to. But they asked me down to the producer Jason Perry, who I was always a big fan of his band A, and we just hit it off so much. And it's almost like because they're making the record while we're writing, so I've been in the studio at their HQ writing now for like a year, as well as the other things I do. That's been my thing that I've been like so focused on while going to play stadiums with my chem. I've then been coming back and in the studio with McFly, so it's been such a fulfilling experience, because maybe my ignorance before I ever met those guys, but I just don't know what I thought they were, but they're some of the best songwriters I've met, best musicians, and just absolutely wicked guys. Totally same sensibility as a lot of the bands I've toured with. It's just about making the best songs and making it sound good and being a band in a studio and playing. And it's been such a rare thing to write songs where the first thing they did was give me a Marshall stack and a guitar and went, go. Whereas, writing in nowadays world is more about computers, and it's still brilliant, but this was such a breath of fresh air to be like, let's riff. So, that's what I'm super excited about. And I believe their album will be out like next year, but I'm not sure I'm qualified to talk about their actual schedules, but I'm really excited about the songs we've wrote on that.